Alrighty, everyone. Let's look at the college basketball Final Four slate on DraftKings for Saturday. I believe slate locks at 6:09. We've got NC State and Purdue, and Alabama and UConn. Looking at the team overviews tab of the model, we can see that UConn is the only team that is projected for more points in this game, or implied for more points in this game than they average on the regular season. On the other side of the coin, Alabama in that same game, a massive reduction. Their implied total is 74, and they average about 90 and a half points per game on the season. So they're implied to score 16.6 fewer points in the game, which is going to really hurt the Alabama players' projections. Speaking of which, if we mosey on over to the player pool tab here and look at the players on this two-game slate, I've already gone through and sorted by the three columns that I prefer to use when I'm identifying fantasy plays. Their average fantasy point plus minus, which comes from BE compared to what they need to hit value. Their fantasy point plus minus with my own projection, which comes from column AQ here. And then their fantasy point and rating score, which combines their fantasy points plus their matchup and advanced metrics rating compared to their salary to get a score here. Light greens like Jaden Taylor appear once in the top 10. Bright green like Zach Edey appear twice in the top 10. And the blue like Tristan Newton appear in all three top 10s. So it's a weird slate. Two games for one. Two games that are closer to blowouts than close games. And then we have on the slate Zach Edey at almost $3,000 more expensive than the second most expensive player, Mark Sears, for Alabama. So I guess question one will be, do you play Zach Edey? And he does grade out as a great play. He is almost certainly going to be the highest raw fantasy point scorer on the slate. But that salary is going to be a tough one to eat and then have a lineup you're comfortable with. But because it's a two-game slate, there's nothing wrong. You're probably going to be uncomfortable either way. It's just going to be hard to find a full roster of guys you feel great about when there's only two games. So if you're trying to be different, my advice would be when you make a copy of this model and then play the hypothetical foul trouble game or blowout game script up minutes of bench players that you think will get extra run because of a blowout or because of foul trouble. I don't know. Let's just say, for example, pick Kaufman Wren, who's averaged 19 points per game over the last 5 games. That's where this value comes from, their minutes played in the last 5. Let's say that you think he's going to play 25 minutes. Then he becomes a much better play than he was before. Much better. So you can go that route and see how will guys perform if they have more minutes than normal or less minutes than normal. Go to the UConn-Alabama game, and maybe you say UConn blows them out. Bench players on UConn play more. Samson Johnson goes from 14 minutes to 18 minutes, and he looks like a great play. Bama players who I can't imagine playing just in general, but maybe you can find an Alabama bench player that you think is going to get extended run in the second half, bump up their minutes, and see how they project. In general, based largely on UConn being the only team in a really good spot, and based on the fact that there's a bunch of UConn guys popping as great plays, I'm going to probably jam in as many UConn players as I can fit. And maybe Newton, maybe I even start with Newton, Klingon, Castle, and Spencer as my first 4 in. Maybe even Care. Maybe I'll do all 5. I don't know. But UConn just looks great. So I think my strategy is going to be start with all these guys that are blue. So was that 5? Yeah, 5 UConn players and Lance Jones as a salary saver, and then see what I can fit in. If I need more cheap guys, we've got some cheap guys down here. Again, we can monkey with the minutes to try to find blowouts in Alabama, UConn. Even the Purdue NC State game could blow out. Who knows? It could be foul trouble for NC State. DJ Burns might be in foul trouble. You can go to a backup forward for NC State and up their minutes. It's just, with a 2-game slate, you got to get weird. So you're not going to feel great about anything you do, but this can give you a really good idea of, if the minutes go the way you project, how is that player likely to perform? So that's a huge advantage. Again, you're going for a game script then. If you can nail the great game script, this team's going to blow out this team. This player's going to play more minutes or less minutes than normal. This can give you a really good idea of who to target then. So to recap in general, jam as many UConn guys as I can, and then fill out the rest of the lineup from there. This model is going to be linked in the description down below. Make a copy of it so you have access to all this data, years of work on this model. You get it for free. You can make a copy of it. You can edit it, adjust the minutes, see how that adjusts their fantasy points, and hopefully you can nail it and take down a tournament on this awesome Final Four Saturday. Okay, good luck, and I'll talk to you guys soon.